I have been producing music since 2011. Over the last 14 years, I have watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of video tutorial content. Everything from the most basic how to use Ableton Live to more advanced masterclasses with prolific techno producers. Still, if I could go back in time and have a sit down with my younger producer self, here are some things that I would tell myself. And note, these tips are my personal truths that I have discovered through many years of trial and error. Number 1. You need the right tools for the right task. And with this, I mean that you can't really create hypnotic techno with boom bap hip hop samples. If anything, it's gonna be an uphill battle. Do you want to create techno? Then you should definitely look for techno samples. The reason I'm saying this is because I spent an awful lot of time before I realized this myself. I remember back in 2018, after I first discovered techno, I spent a lot of time really trying to mold the library that I had at the time of dubstep and lo-fi hip-hop samples into the kind of techno tracks that I was really into at the time. And I remember, it was really, really frustrating, and I spent God knows how long before I realized that I was trying to build a brick house out of, driftwood. It was like, sure, I could get something up and running that kind of resembled what I was aiming for, but the overall experience was demotivating, to say the least. At this point in time, I'm obviously confident enough in my skills to say that I can create techno out of any kind of samples. But if you're just starting out, I highly, highly encourage you to look specifically for the kind of samples that match the music that you're trying to create. It is definitely going to make your life a whole lot easier. Point number 2 is that you shouldn't believe all the plugin hypes. And okay, first off, I'm not saying that plugins are not worth it at all. I own several plugins like SoundToys and some universal audio stuff that I prefer over Ableton's stock devices, without a doubt. These are tools that saves me a lot of time, that has great sounding presets, and in general just sound amazing. But you also need to remember that plugin companies, first and foremost, they make a living from selling plugins. Some invest more heavily into marketing than others, which in the worst cases lead to gullible people like myself believing that this one new game-changing plugin is the missing piece of my creative puzzle. And again, I'm not saying don't buy or don't try plugins. There are really some amazing tools out there that is going to make your production life a whole lot easier. I do, however, want to encourage you to think twice before downloading yet another plugin, thinking that it holds some magic qualities that you won't find anywhere else. Point number 3. You need to be okay with making quote-unquote bad tracks. This one is for the perfectionist in me. And side note, he is still there. Not every idea you have will be great. Not every beat you start is going to turn out good. Some will be bad, some will be good. Some will be decent, and a select few will be truly amazing. One metaphor for this that I really like is that it's like sifting for gold. You gotta go through a lot of dirt before you find the golden nuggets. And honestly, you won't know which is which until you finish them and you can look back on what you've created. Which also leads me into the next point, which is finishing tracks is more important than you think. Trust me, completing tracks is a skill. It's just like mixing, sound design, composition, and arrangement. If you want to be someone who makes tracks, then you need to actually, finish tracks, It kind of goes without saying, but from my own experience, it's really easy to feel that you're doing the thing of making music when all you're really doing is creating cool sounding loops that doesn't really go anywhere and just ends up sitting in your hard drive forever. One thing that I had to tell myself, or a question that I had to ask myself, was, who do I want to be? Do I want to be someone that finishes tracks? Or do I want to be someone that makes loops, Point number 5. An interesting track with a bad mix trumps a boring track with a decent mix. Again, I'm speaking from my own experience here, because I did spend years obsessing over mixing and sound design. And while it gave me the skills to recreate sounds that I heard in the tracks that I loved, what I didn't really realize until years later was that it's the emotional content of my track that people are going to remember. So, unless you only have producer friends, no one is going to tell you how much they like your track simply because it's got a perfectly balanced mix. People will remember emotions. It is groove that makes people want to get up and dance. Crafting a good mix is important, like, don't get me wrong, but crafting a track that tells an emotional story is, in my eyes, a whole lot more important than having a perfect mix. Okay, so lastly, if you're feeling stuck in your own productions, be it technical issues or with mindset problems, I'm here to help. I've been producing my own music for 14 years. I have a bachelor's degree in music production, and I worked 2 years full-time as a live audio engineer. If you're interested in knowing more about this, please check out the link in the description for more information. Thanks a lot for watching, and I see you in the next video.